brand new film that's hitting theaters this weekend. The film originally debuted in March of 2025 at the South by Southwest Film Festival. Letterboxd picked it up late in 2025 and put it as a digital rental release, but earlier this year, Neon picked up the rights to the movie and wanted to release it theatrically. The film stars Mitchell Cole as Tyler, Akira Jackson as Day, Noah Toth as Fisher, and Phineas Yoon as James, four lifelong friends who are now graduating college, and they're going on one last trip together in order to celebrate them all becoming adults, and also knowing that this is probably the last time all four of them can do something like this with each other ever again. But by accident, at least in their eyes, they hit a dead end and they miss a turn. When they try to turn back and get back on the open road, things are not as they seem, as it looks like. They're on an endless road that is inescapable, as they're trying to realize, is this a forever endless road that they can't get off of with other people chasing them, or is there hope at the end of the tunnel and can they escape this situation? The film's an hour and 29 minutes and is rated R. I'm Max Enberg from Max Talks Movies. Welcome to my brand new review, guys, for you for It Ends. I got a chance to see this movie early at the AMC Scream Unseen this past Monday night. Again, weird release strategy for this movie. This movie was premiered over a year and a half ago, and then Letterboxd had a digital release for it late last year. Now here it is in August, 8 months later, getting a theatrical release. Very weird way to get a movie into theaters, but here is It Ends from Neon, hitting theaters in limited release this weekend, and I finally got a chance to see it. And this is an interesting watch. That's what I will say. This is a film that is going to be very much compared to The Long Walk, which is The Long Walk. Yes, you get that intro with Cooper Hoffman and his mom, but the rest of the movie is just our characters walking. Things are happening on their walk, but they are literally walking for 90 minutes straight for the movie, I'm saying. That is the same thing here. 95% of this movie takes place in a car with our four characters in the car driving down a road, down a forever road. And that is a very tough challenge from a screenplay perspective because you have to keep things interesting when you're in the same exact mode, which is you're in a car for the entire length of the film. You have to keep the stakes high. You have to keep the scares a little bit in there. You want to laugh, you want to be emotional, you want to be invested in what's going on. And that is very tough to sustain in 90 minutes. And I do think it does an okay job at that. I don't think it hits a home run as much as I wanted it to. This was a frustrating watch because I do think there is a great movie in here. And I don't think this is a bad movie by any means. The best thing I will say about the movie, first of all, is I did buy these four characters being these lifelong high school, middle school to college best friends. You can feel their friendship. You can also feel some bitterness depending on the dynamic. You feel the love depending on the dynamic. And I think everyone can kind of relate to that. If you've ever been in a friend group before, it's not like the four of you are all equally best friends. You're maybe more friends with another person. You might be not jealous, but you have a little bit more disdain or annoyance with another member in the friend group. And this movie does a really good job showing that these are really four completely different people, but you can buy them as close friends. You can buy them as bitter enemies the next second. And I thought all four actors did a really good job. Phineas Yoon as James was easily my favorite character in the movie. He does kind of come off as a douchebag in the intro portion of the film, but as he has the most, I would say, evolution, really the only evolution to his character out of the four key main leads. I think he is really good in this movie. Very fast to see what he does next because I think he's excellent in this film. It looks very good. I was never bored by being in a car for 90 minutes. That is a really good thing. I thought the premise itself hooked me in. There are some very intriguing high stakes moments in here. There's also really good portions of comedy where the friends are busting each other's balls, and I thought they were very funny moments. My whole theater was laughing, and I think, again, it's a very relatable friend group that gets you throughout the entire film. But for me, what really hamstrung this movie was in The Long Walk, for example. That film, yes, had a very similar situation. They're walking for 90 minutes, but you really felt the dread, the stress, and the very high stakes situation that they were in. There was so much emotion into that movie. This movie isn't really like that. This is definitely at times, depressing watch where characters are either losing hope, not believing that they can get themselves out of the situation and taking it out on one another. And basically, this element of driving this endless road is breaking a lot of characters in this movie. And I just felt like for such a slow build, I don't mind slow builds but when you have a slow build like this movie does, you want that payoff. But I do believe with the premise and the concept of this movie, they kind of had to write themselves into corners because it didn't feel like they had enough plot and story to sustain itself for a full feature length movie. There were kind of sequences where I was like, didn't we just do that 15, 20 minutes ago? Like, is there another? It's tough to be that creative with a concept like this for 90 straight minutes because you're in a car, you got to do something different every 5 to 10 minutes. This movie definitely felt repetitive in a lot of portions. But when you have a slow build, you want the payoff to be really worthwhile. And I thought the payoff was pretty mediocre, in my opinion. And after the movie was over, I was like, it was all right. That's what I felt like when the movie ended right away. I usually don't really know that quickly, but when that ending happened, I was like, that was really it. That was the ending that we came up with. It wasn't a bad ending, but I was like, couldn't we have come up with a more inventive ending to maybe hook, maybe feel something different walking out of the theater? I didn't really care about the twists and turns. I also thought this movie, was a scream unseen. The horror aspect of this movie, I just never felt it. You never really felt the threat of what was actually going on and the surrounding characters on the road. They could have really elevated that to like the 10th degree, but it's very surface level. So this is a frustrating watch. I cared about the characters. I really did buy their friendship, and I like the concept of driving on this endless road. Some people having hope, some people just giving up, and that not being a bad thing in a situation like this, and just living the life you have left. I like all of those things. To me, it just was the stakes were just not that high. They could have been a lot more creative with the ending and with the surrounding elements of the road. But I would say I did enjoy the movie enough. I was never bored. So I do recommend it, but I wish it was one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm giving It Ends a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm going the low end of 3 of 5 stars, a 56%. What are you guys' thoughts on It Ends? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to Max Talks Movies on YouTube, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon.